Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video. Today it is time to explore some of the more kinda out there locations in the Warcraft universe. Now that we're going to Argus, it does really seem like Blizzard are actually quite willing to weave a layer of science fiction elements into World of Warcraft. Now this is actually something that they alluded to all the way back in the human ending of Warcraft 2, Beyond the Dark Portal, and it's actually something they planned to do for the Burning Crusade, and something that they've talked about a fair few times over the course of the last few years. Now, with our future enemies being seemingly cosmic with the Void, it does look like at some point we could be in for another space adventure. And let's just begin with various portals to other worlds, which was a part of the original plan for the Burning Crusade expansion. It seemed to piggyback directly off what was established in Warcraft 2 Beyond the Dark Portal, in the sense of there being portals to other worlds, be they like what the ones that the Alliance expedition jumped into to escape death, or the ones that Ner'zhul summoned in. So it is clear that Blizzard have been thinking about other worlds and things like that for a long time indeed, and that they have some sense of a wider cosmic structure to the Warcraft universe. While a future Old God expansion probably wouldn't take us directly into space, I could definitely see us tackling the Void Lords both on and off Azeroth. Alright, with that covered, let's get into the planet, starting with Nehalem, which is also the name of a pretty damn famous raid guild. So, Nehalem is a planet that was the site of an event that essentially kicked off much of what has happened in the Warcraft universe. Even something like the Scourge invasion traces back to the events here. It is essentially the origin of the Legion, and is the place where the Titan Pantheon attempted to deal with Sargeras. Now, by the time they confronted him, Sargeras had already turned. He'd already began to form the Legion. Now, his former friend, Agrimar, attempted to reason with him, but it was no good. Sargeras was way too set in his ways. He was convinced that the Legion was the only way to deal with this impending Void problem. Knowing that the Pantheon wouldn't allow his sort of wish with the Legion to happen, he attacked Agrimar, pretty much killing him instantly, which really enraged the Pantheon, who began a full assault on Sargeras at the planet. Over the course of the battle, numerous stars died, and the planet was thoroughly ruined. Sargeras eventually summoned a fell storm that was able to destroy the bodies of the entire Pantheon. Now, I say bodies because Norganon, being a smart cookie, launched their spirits out towards space in a pretty desperate attempt to save them. Still, that was pretty much the Pantheon's power wiped out. With the battle being done, Sargeras declared himself the victor, and he set out across the galaxy to conquer worlds and eventually find the Titan World Soul in Azeroth. Nehalem was heavily manipulated by the forces used at that battle, and one of the things that happened is that its metals were infused with all the various different magics, which basically seems to have made them the Warcraft equivalent of like Vibranium from Marvel. It's what, for example, the Blood Death Knight artifact weapon is crafted from. A pretty cool bit of lore overall, and while I do not think we will go there, maybe we could see a flashback there, perhaps I could see maybe that metal being used as a resource in the future. Alright, next we've got Nathreza. So this is the planet which is the home of the Nathrezim, more commonly, of course, called the Dreadlords. They are one of the higher-up sort of tiers of the Burning Legion, and they're often used for spying and sabotage due to them seeming just, naturally being intelligent and cunning, pretty much a pack of sneaky bastards. The planet itself is located in the Twisting Nether, just like modern-day Outland. Now, this basically means that getting to it wouldn't take that long because all the distances, distances don't really matter within the Twisting Nether, kinda. The planet itself is surrounded by a few moons, a few other bits of rock, and it's all orbiting a small star. Now, because it's located in the Twisting Nether, it means that it's got access to loads of powerful magics and things like that. Now, the surface of the planet does seem to be quite a mess. It's full of floating rock, magical elements, a bit reminiscent in my head to parts of Nagrand from the Burning Crusade, just the more desolate parts at the side. It is, or perhaps was, the location of the home city of the Nathrezim, which itself contains an archive tower, which basically stored records of all the Legion's plans, locations, and schemes. So it has a direct tie into the Legion expansion and actually the Demon Hunter introduction. Illidan travelled there quite soon after establishing his dominance over Outland. Now, after a battle with the Wardens, he basically used the Souls of the Fallen to create a portal to Nathreza. Once he was there, him and his demon hunters cut their way through the Nathrezim defenders, and they eventually made their way to the Archive Tower. And once there, he was able to steal the Disc of Argus, which basically contained complete records of the Legion's operations on that planet. Now, behind him, he left an unstable portal, and his hope there was that it would destroy the planet, much like how Nerzul's portals turned Draenor into the Outland that we currently know today. So with the Disc of Argus in his possession, Illidan then only needed the Sargarite Keystone to pretty much have access to Argus. Of course, we know that didn't really happen as planned for him, but things do seem to be coming full circle during the Legion expansion. I think this could be a decently cool place for us to visit in, a small capacity at some point, perhaps through a portal like the Demon Hunter one on the Broken Shore, but overall I don't think it would be something super major in the game. Next, we've got Karkoa. This is a planet that we actually know very, very little about, but it is one that was introduced with Legion and the Priest Artifact Weapon research. So the Holy Priest Artifact is a fragment of a Naru called Tuur, which sacrificed itself to prevent Dimensius, the All-Devouring, from destroying a populated world. Now this happened an extremely long time ago, before the Eredar had given themselves to the Legion seemingly. So Dimensius was a massive Void Lord who basically devoured worlds. He would bathe the planets in void energy, which is a process that would essentially lead to the death of the planet and all of those on it. Now, Tuur was a Naru, and he was able to, or I suppose it was able to prevent this by basically destroying itself in a massive holy nova. Now, the following is kind of just speculation, of course, but I think this would be a cool little seed for a future plot element when you think about it. If they were to add a new race, this one would kind of make sense, especially since, they've been hinted at during the Legion expansion. Their interaction with the Naru could point them towards, the Army of Light, of course, and maybe that could be a connection, but it's really hard to say because we have no idea what happened to them after Tuur's actions. So next we've got Zhou Roth, which is one of the many worlds under the Legion's control, and it's one that we have a common interaction with. Actually, when a Warlock summons in their Dreadsteed, the Dreadsteed technically is summoned in from the planet of Zhou Roth, because that is where Dreadsteeds are native to. Which is quite strange when you think about it, because, well, you'd think a horse was native to Azeroth. But anyway, this planet does, or maybe did, have a native race, but we don't really know much about them, just that a nearby planet called Zerath was destroyed as a show of force. So perhaps they're dead, perhaps they serve the Legion, the latter seems likely. Now, there are actually portals to Zhou Roth on the Broken Shore currently. It's where the Zorothian Fell Knights come from, but oddly enough, anything with a Zorothian prefix is either an Eredar or it's an Azerothian race, so it seems like it's just a general Legion world, perhaps one where cultists or other races are trained. I think it would be pretty cool if some Zorothians, like the natives, actually survive. Maybe we're in the Army of Light, something like that could happen, but of course that's all baseless speculation, just something that I think would be cool. Next we've got Koresh. So this world was the home of the Ethereals, was being really the operative word here. Our friend from earlier, Dimensius, the All-Devouring, basically stopped by here and destroyed basically the whole planet. He forced the Ethereals to flee, and many of them, of course, eventually ended up in Outland, which is why we saw them in TBC. We know that the Void is going to be one of the primary threats once we're done with the Legion, so while this world probably will not be seen, I suspect we will be fending off a very similar threat. Hopefully the Ethereals will be involved too. I think they were a pretty damn cool race to have in the game. Now, of course, we did eventually kill Dimensius in the Burning Crusade, which was a bit strange because, well, a big planet-consuming being was just taken down in a dungeon, but hey, that's sort of how Blizzard rolled back in those days. Now, I'm going to give a quick shout out to Argus here. I think it's worth mentioning in this video because obviously it is an off-world location and it's one of the only ones that right now we actually know we are going to be going to. Argus is going to be the location of patch 7.3, and I recently did a video pretty much covering everything we know about it to get you ready for that patch. So rather than just reiterating myself here, I think it's best just check that video out, and I'd also recommend checking out the Tomb of Sargeras and the cinematic if you're okay with spoilers. Next up we have NeoLoza. Now, we don't actually know where or what this even is. It's been covered a few times before, and the theories on it really do range, and it gets into this video because of how, well, wide-ranging those theories are. It could be somewhere on Azeroth, or it could be the source of the old gods themselves. We don't know, we've just got hints. Now, that said, we know the old gods were created by the Void Lords, with the intent of them sort of spreading across the universe, consuming all life, and corrupting Titan world souls when found. NeoLoza, then, could be the original source, the location location where all of the old gods begin from, or sort of released from. Kind of like Argus for the Legion, in that it's like a source of power. Still, right now the best that we have is hints, and I'm sure that this is something that Blizzard are going to flesh out in the near future. But hey, some space-based Lovecraftian cosmic horror, that would be awesome. Now, we then do just have some planets that we visited. We've got Dreadscar Rift, which is the Legion portal world where Warlocks put their Class Order Hall in after ousting the previous leadership. Xandros is a world that was destroyed by Mungrathod in Warlords of Draenor. Niskara was visited by many of the different Order Hall campaigns, including the finale of the Demon Hunter one. Naveen is another world where the locals were killed by the Legion after the wielder of Apocalypse, the Unholy DK artifact, basically sowed discord amongst their ranks and got them to pretty much wipe themselves out. Falindriskor, a bit of a sort of, fluffy name. It's another planet that was wiped out by the Legion but isn't super important. Mardum, of course, another world, a portal world, which was in the, the Demon Hunter intro. We've then got Centralis, which is wiped out by Gorlix, who is the wielder of the Maw of the Damned, of course, before players got it. Generally, the theme here is that meeting the Legion does not end too well. Really, that pretty much is an overview of the various more notable planets that have been established in the Warcraft lore, and really just gives you an idea of what's sort of going on out there. Could we see any of them? Well, it really depends on the Legion expansion. If this expansion ends with us properly defeating the Legion on Argus, wiping them out, then many of these planets just will have less interest to the core story. It does seem, though, like all of this Void stuff is going to be the direction that we will be heading in, so I would expect to see that woven into both our happenings on Azeroth and also some stuff on a cosmic scale, because it has been established in the lore that the Void Lords are pretty much a, reality-consuming, cosmic threat. But that pretty much is it for this video. A little bit of a dive into space and the kind of wackier side of World of Warcraft. I think this stuff is really fun, and I would actually kind of love it if we did a little bit more space travel. But hey, we will see how it goes with Argus, and we'll go from there. Anyway, guys, thank you very much for watching this video. Let me know what you thought down in the description, and with that, I will see you next time.